So the 73rd episode is coming around now, and at this point I think we kind of need to think about what kind of direction I really want to take the park into, because I've mainly been doing this in the comments and stuff, but that isn't really the most efficient way to communicate things, especially not for those people just watching it. So I just kind of want to solidify my ideas about how I'm going to do this park right now, and the more I feel like I communicate with others and whatever I want to do with this park, the more I also become pretty sure that that is indeed the kind of thing that I want to do with it. So yeah, let's just roll with that. The first thing I kind of want to do here is, like I said, just do a main street, but then after that I want to branch into like all the different areas that I want to build in the park. And one thing is for sure, it's going to be based on different areas in the world. I'm pretty much set on that right now. The only issue is what kind of areas do I want to do and how many do I want to do, because I don't want to keep going forever and ever and ever, and I feel like there also needs to be some way in which it is organized. For example, putting all the Asian countries in one corner of the park and all the European countries, etc., stuff like that. And what I want to do attractions wise is something just kind of similar, just whatever people suggest, and I feel like that could actually work is something that I'll think about and possibly try. So it's going to be a bit of a balance, because I don't want to make things that I really don't want to make or feel that wouldn't work in this park, but that still means that, you know, suggestions never work out, because I like to listen to them and sometimes I just forget about coaster types or whatever things I could do. So I'm still quite glad whenever people give suggestions, not to mention the fact that sometimes people do kind of show me some mistakes that I didn't think of myself. I have been building a lot of inverted coasters as of lately, so I might want to kind of calm down on that one. Though, to be very honest, if I really feel like it, and if an inverted coaster would work in this park, I'm still going to do it, probably. But yeah, that's one of the things. I want to get at least one B&M coaster. And it's probably going to be just one, because I feel like it would be overkill if I started placing B&M coasters all over in this park. But I at least want to have something. There is this one idea about having a Disney-style park, though honestly it has a bit of a mix of Europa Park and Busch Gardens, but I'd like to talk about that later on. And having a B&M coaster in it, that's just so great, because I think, and I kind of understand this, many people like Disney, but the thing that they're missing about it is the roller coasters. It kind of favors the scenery and the entire atmosphere and ambience of the park over the roller coasters and the thrilling rides in general. Thrilling rides? That is not even a word. What am I saying? But that is something that I want to get in there, because I want to get both sides. I still want to focus on scenery because that is the thing that I like most. But, you know, there's this thing about big roller coasters that work out with scenery that is also very appealing. And something that I want to try because it's challenging nonetheless. So I want to do that as well. There is going to be at least one B&M coaster that's either going to be an invert, might be a flyer, but it's not very likely. I've kind of given up on that idea. And another idea that I got from some people is to do a wing rider, and this is also something that I really want to try, because you don't really see too many very well themed wing riders. I don't think there's any wing rider that really has heavy theming in a way that a mine train coaster, for example, has heavy theming. And this is something that I would like to mess around with, especially with the hitboxes of the cars and stuff like that. You can really do some fun things with that, I think. Some other ideas were to build a B&M hyper coaster. But this is something that I'm probably not going to do, because even though I like them and they look pretty cool, it just doesn't really work out with a heavily themed park. There is no way you can build a B&M hypercoaster and theme it all the way, because those things are just so incredibly huge. You can't really do too many things with those things. And a B&M sit down kind of goes the same for it. I mean, it's still not as big as a B&M hyper, but it's still a pretty big coaster usually, so that could work out, but those things never really have as much scenery interaction as, for example, a B&M invert has, because some really big B&M inverts still have some really cool scenery. I guess Alpengeist would be a very nice example of that. And what I talked about earlier when I said that this park is going to be a mixture of Disney and Europa Park and Busch Gardens, possibly some more things, probably a lot of Efteling. Even if I don't want to do it, it's probably going to get there subconsciously, because that's actually the only park on that list that I've actually been to. But yeah, I kind of like those parks all because they have really good scenery, and you know how much I like my scenery. Disney is going to be that main influence in the sense that, you know, what I'm doing right now, building a main street, stuff like that, having the differently themed areas. Disney is also the kind of path work that I want to do in this game, in this park at least, because I've looked at different parks. I was actually a bit of a nerd, and I went onto Google Maps and checked out some theme parks, and I was pleasantly surprised that I could actually check out all those things in Google Maps. Why even go there when you can just look at them on the internet? But then it turned out that Disney actually had some path style that works well in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I think it works better than the other ones because it's spread out. You can still see all the things, and you can still take some nice shots with it with the flying camera route editor, but it isn't as compact and packed with foliage as, for example, Busch Gardens is. And then I'm talking about Busch Gardens Williamsburg, by the way. I am completely ignoring the other one. I'm sorry about all the fans of that park. That is still a really good park, but it's not the type of park that I'm going for. At least not in a theme sense. And the thing with the Busch Gardens Williamsburg is that it's really great, and I like it, but it's so compact, and it has that much foliage that I feel like a park like that wouldn't really work out too well in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. You do at least kind of want to show off your buildings and attractions in a way that you actually have nice views and stuff like that. And Busch Gardens Williamsburg, I think, is in the middle of a forest, and that's not really what I want to go for. And I do want to have some gardens in this park, though. There's this one park in America, but I completely forgot the name, which had awesome gardens, but nothing else really. Damn it, why did I forget that name? Anyway, that's something that I also want to get somewhere in the park, at least in various different areas. Just an area similar to how the Efteling does it, without any attractions, aside from maybe an observation deck or a little boat ride or a little vehicle, other things, whatever the cool kids have these days. And gardens, because I really like to go into gardening. That's just something that I want to do more often. Just some slightly secluded areas in the park that are not too easy to get, that not too many people go to. But then, if you're in the park and it's quite busy, you can still find some relaxing areas and nature and have a cool picnic. That's basically the idea behind that. Now, I realized that I've been talking about all this park stuff for a very long time, and I haven't even talked about the main street itself. I guess I can say some small things about the buildings that I am building right now. The idea that I want to keep with this main street is it's going to be a weird kind of melting pot of all the different cultures, at least in Europe. I don't want to get too many other things in there. Like, if I put an Asian building in there, I feel like it would be a bit too awkward and it would stand apart too much from the rest of the main street, so I kind of don't want to do that. But still, you can probably see some influences from different places, and there's a bit of American main street-ishness out of there, I guess. But yeah, the buildings that I have so far is that one Victorian building, which I don't even know if that is really inspired by a particular country at all. I don't even know exactly where that would work out. It seems like a very theme park-ish building. The building with the green walls next to the building that I'm building right now is a Scandinavian-ish building. It was actually, I went into it thinking this is going to be a Baltic building with the colors being like that and it having that standard roof kind of texture, roof shape that points toward the street, or in usual cases it would be a square, but I guess that's also kind of more European in general. And the rest of the buildings on this side of the street so far are just kind of standard-ish Main Street buildings. There's not really too much to them. And then there's the Germanic building kind of thing with the castle tower, just to break that up kind of. That was a bit of a boring building without that castle tower. Standard type of Germanic building. Didn't really want to have that. And of course there's the Romanian theme in the entrance, though I don't really think I'm going to put too many Romanian influences in the rest of the park. But yeah, it's really hard to nail down the themes of the various buildings because, okay, I did a lot of Google Maps research actually for this park, and you'd be kind of surprised, unless you already know about this, how similar many European cities are. They all kind of have a similar classical build-up in terms of both the city layout and the buildings, and it's hard to really get too many distinct buildings in the main street without the main street not looking coherent. So yeah, I don't want to mess with that too much. The building in the front though still kind of reminds me of Austrian buildings. I don't know exactly what it was, but it might be the color scheme. That's still my favorite building though. I'm pretty glad that even though it was the first building and all the buildings after it weren't really as great as that one building in my opinion, it's still cool to have that good building on the corner. That's kind of what you do want to go for. The best buildings are going to be on the corner and going to get the most of the attention, and then the kind of, okay, yeah, buildings are going to be on the sides and just not distraction, but just form a cool facade. But yeah, that's it for this episode. I'll see you on the next one, and thank you for watching.